Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Michelle from Consolidated Planning Group. Um, we have got a great topic for you today, one of our most popular. It's kind of a quick pace and there's kind of a lot of information. So hopefully you will be able to get a couple key takeaways today that are going to be very helpful and beneficial for you and your family. We do have a sponsor today, Eric Chesson. He's going to be speaking a little bit in a moment about how important it is to keep our children safe and fit and healthy. But first, I just want to talk a little bit about who we are and why you're here and why you should even listen to us. So first of all, Consolidated Planning Group is a financial planning firm. We focus on planning for special needs families. So, any family that has an individual where there is an intellectual or developmental disability, that is who we serve. So, we help families with protection plans, lifetime care planning, transition planning, which we're going to be talking about today. We help you set up and understand ABLE accounts and how to use those and the differences between like your ABLE account, your special needs trust, and all of that. And we're here to educate you and to advocate for you. There are over 263,000 financial planners across the United States. But out of that 263,000, fewer than 200 of them, that's less than a tenth of a percent, focus on special needs planning the way that we do. So when you have a family member, or if you know of anybody who has a family member with any kind of intellectual or developmental disability, we are a great source for educational resources. We can help with the planning, with the benefits, with thinking about those long-term goals and planning for the future to take care of your loved one. So we do these webinars to help educate you. And today, we're doing this webinar. We always record them and put them on our YouTube channel. So after the webinar is over, you can go back and rewatch if you'd like. And also, since we're in webinar mode, I can't see you or hear you, but I know you're out there. And if you have any questions or comments, I would love for you just to put those in the chat box for me. That's the easiest way for me to get to your questions and comments and present the webinar and do it all at once. So, like I said before, I would like to introduce you to our sponsor today, if you will, our co-host, Eric Chesson. Eric, if you'd like to take over for a moment and go through your slides and tell us what it is that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate being here and everybody being on in the middle of the afternoon and everybody watching later on too. So I'm the founder of a company called Autism Fitness. And for the past 20 plus years, the mission of Autism Fitness has been to bring effective, meaningful fitness and adapted PE programs to the entire autism and neurodivergent population. And the reason why I love doing a webinar on this topic is there are a couple of misconceptions about fitness, particularly for the ASD population, that I like to demythologize initially as well, because fitness is such an often misunderstood area. And then when we talk about fitness for the autism population, we really need to define and focus on what that means and what the implications are, what the importance is, and what outcomes we're looking for as well. So you can see in this first slide, referring to fitness as a life skill. The reason why I love being on a webinar like this is we're talking about transition periods from teens into adulthood, or even adulthood into later stage adult or geriatric life. And if everybody on the webinar watching later, you think about someone who's 70 or 75 years old, there are two distinctly different 70 years old. Someone who is active and thriving, and you say, oh, they look 20 years younger. And then you have someone who is inactive and debilitated and they lose a lot of their independence and capabilities. And so the reason I bring that up is there are both proactive and preventative qualities of fitness for any population, but in particular, our ASD and neurodivergent population that are so critical to quality of life. The issue is that fitness as a whole is not generally prioritized for this population. It's a secondary, or this would be great as a residential thing, or maybe once a month we get together. But it is the most often, again, misunderstood, but passed over aspect of quality of life and independence and healthy development at any age for this population. So if we look at fitness not as something that would be nice, or hey, wouldn't it be great if we just got on a treadmill, but as a life skill and the development of strength and stability and endurance in daily life as something that is going to generalize to other areas of ability, I think it takes on a newfound importance for the whole of our population, regardless of their age, regardless of their ability levels, and regardless of what their starting point is. Well, so we can go to the next slide. So what I've developed is the autism fitness certification, and the certification has been running since 2017. It is a global program. We have certified pros in over 10 countries, over 600 certified pros, and even though that sounds I'm never impressed by that number because we need to do more. So I developed a program called Autism Fitness Site Certification, where in addition to getting staff or parents or other professionals certified, I work with those schools and organizations and clinics to implement those programs to have the best possible follow through and development of those programs as possible. And these can be in schools, they can be in residential facilities, they can be in OT, PT, and behavior clinics. Any program, any organization, any educational facility that is serving this population needs to very seriously consider fitness as a part of their offerings, because the question is, where else are our students and clients and learners going to get it?
Mm-hmm.
And the other side of that is understanding that fitness programs vary a lot. And it's not just a question of what exercises should we use, or let's just get active, or let's just get moving. There's a science to it. And if we understand the exercise science and the programming side of it, and then understand the positive behavior support and communication and, working with the individuals, we call them in autism fitness programming, working with our athletes, active participants, then they'll have it over the course of their lifetime. And that, both the short term is important, but the long term is really what we're looking at. What can we do today in this athlete's life that's going to get them stronger and safer and more capable in their activities of daily living, so that they can be independent in their 20s, in their 30s, in their 40s, in their 70s, so that they don't have to be that 70-year-old who doesn't have a high quality of life because they cannot perform these activities of everyday living independently. Mm-hmm. And it really stands to reason, I think, that with many of the challenges that our autism and neurodivergent population face, the issue of having physiological limitations because of the things that we know accompany aging, for example, muscular loss and loss of bone density. These things are part of the aging process, but through, again, really well thought out and well implemented fitness and adaptive PE programs, we can take a preventative measure against that. And similar to great financial advice and practice, it's something that has a cumulative effect over time. So from session to session, there might be a net benefit or a net change, but we're looking over the entirety of an individual's lifetime. So, in some fitness, the goal is to make fitness a priority and give greater accessibility, and that's what we're doing through autism fitness certification and through now the site certification for schools and organizations around the world.
That is fantastic, and it's all about really living the days of your life,
Mhm.
and having that good life and not, the last 10 years of your life, you don't want to spend it miserable. The more you take care of yourself now, the better you're going to be overall, right? So that is
Sure.
so important. I really appreciate you so much for being here with us, Eric, and for sharing us with your crowd. And hopefully we're sharing some of our crowd with you as well. But today, do you have anything else to add? How can people get in touch with you if they would like to start one of your site certification programs?
Yeah, absolutely. You can reach out to me directly, Eric at autismfitness.com. You can learn all about the certification and the site certification on autismfitness.com. And then the Autism Fitness on Instagram and on YouTube, where I put more long form videos. And you can always see examples of the athletes that I work with and the athletes that our autism fitness pros work with as well.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. If you wouldn't mind, go ahead and put your contact info in the chat box. And
Absolutely.
then the participants today can go ahead and contact you if they would like to get started on their child's fitness journey.
Mhm. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, Eric. So back to the transition topic. Like I said, if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the chat box. I'm happy to get as many of those answered for you today as I possibly can. The first thing we want to talk about when it comes to transitioning your child from high school to whatever it is that comes next is to, really keep realistic expectations. You know, the the traditional path is might not be for your child. It wasn't for my children. Going graduation from high school and then straight the next year into a 4-year college and getting that degree. A lot of our neighbors and friends might be talking about that with their kiddos and, oh, my kid got accepted into A&M or whatever. Not everybody follows that same path. And I mentioned A&M, of course, because we at Consolidated Planning Group are located in Houston. Now, we do work with families all across the country. And many of the things that we're going to be talking about today um, are Houston or Texas related programs, but there are so many programs outside of the state of Texas. And a lot of the stuff that we're going to be talking about will still apply to those other states. So don't run away if you're not from Texas. We can still help you. We want to make sure that, when you're thinking about what's going to come after high school, you first of all understand and help your child understand the challenges and the strengths that come along with their diagnosis. What is their diagnosis and how can they leverage that for their benefit, Um, if they don't take a traditional college path, there are plenty of other options for you to consider. Maybe your child isn't ready to drive right at 16 and you delay that driver's license a little bit. For my family, my child just didn't even want to drive until he was a little bit older. It wasn't a top priority for him. And I'm seeing that in this generation of kids coming up to this transition period that many kids are looking at driving, whether they're neurotypical or have a diagnosis of some kind, all of them are kind of putting that off a little bit, which is great in my mind. There are trade schools and community colleges with great programs for kiddos that we serve. And that is all across the United States. We know of programs where, all the way from Seattle to Florida and Maine to California, all over the country, there are great educational vocational, and residential programs for your loved ones. Maybe they can work with the Texas Workforce Commission or the Workforce Commission in whatever state you happen to be in. They have a great program called vocational rehab. And every state has vocational rehab where they can help train and test your child to see, what kind of impediments do they have to being able to hold a job. And if we give them this kind of training, which often involves help paying for that kind of training, then maybe they'll be more successful. So the Texas Vocational Rehab Program can really help your child go to work and learn about work opportunities. I've even heard of vocational rehab programs being able to pay for college courses, maybe some summer programs that help students learn about the workforce and about what it means to go to work and how to prepare for that. What about a registered apprenticeship? There are registered apprenticeships available through various workforce programs where students can get an apprenticeship and learn. Maybe it's a certificate program where they're going to be trained and get a certificate, or something like that to be able to have a career. What about if your student wants to go to college, but you're not sure if they're ready? What if they just take one or two courses? Um, you don't have to take 16, 17, 18 credit hours. That's just not right for every student. So maybe they would just have a reduced course load or live at home rather than living on college campus. But, it's really important that you don't compare your child to other children in the community, even though, that's what so many parents do. Oh, my child did this at a certain age. My child did that. My child is driving. My child, whatever. Self-esteem is critical to our children. And I don't know, if you grew up in my generation, but we often see that negative self-esteem can impact people for years and years and years. And that is why it's so critical, first of all, not to compare, but also to build that self-esteem through programs like Eric's program, getting those kids out there and taking charge of their health and fitness really helps lift that self-esteem and showing them that they can do these things. And that is huge, so important to keep their self-esteem up. And one thing I always say is, people often want to compare, but there's no comparison and there's no need for that. Not every kernel of popcorn pops at the exact same time, right? So not all of our children are going to hit every single thing all at the same time. Everybody's different. Every kernel of popcorn is different, and that's okay. So no worries if your child is behind a little bit or accelerating a little bit. Everybody has their own areas. So when you're thinking about finding a good fit for your child, of course, look at different schools and colleges. There are so many options out there. Think about the location and the degree program that your child might be interested in. Think about what that school offers in terms of their Office of Disability. Almost all colleges have an Office of Disability, but they are not all created equal. So you might want to contact them in advance and see what their Office of Disability is like. Think about extracurricular activities that your child might be interested in. And think about how could you take that extracurricular activity that they love and turn it into a career path for them. And, that career path that they choose, maybe they think to themselves, oh, I really want to do this. Maybe it's, I really want to work with animals. That's a very common thing with children. They love animals. They want to work with animals. Think about that career path and if it's going to be a good fit for your child's abilities, their functional abilities, for their capacity in terms of, noise and sensory overload and emotional resilience, and education. There's a lot that goes into it. And the work setting is part of that as well, because what if your child, just like someone said just now in the chat, they often think they can handle the whole world. Thank you, Ross. But not necessarily. Maybe they mask very well. Maybe they hide or they compensate for um, certain areas. Think about, like, if your child says, I love money, I want to work in a bank. Think about what a banker does. They're going to be sitting at a computer in a quiet office a lot. Is sitting at a computer at a desk in a quiet office going to be a good work setting for your loved one? Or maybe they like a lot more action and activity, like you would see if they chose to work with animals in a veterinary clinic. Maybe they could be a vet assistant. Um, or maybe that chaos of being in a vet clinic would be too much for them, and they should focus more on something that is in a quiet office. It just depends on your individual loved one and what they need to best support them. I'm just going to check out this question I got real quick. Could CPG look into a webinar program for places certified as safe for our kids? Safe certification is very important. Many of them don't have filters for safety, or they're are targeted in lots of ways. Going to work or college can be a big risk for an otherwise fairly capable young adult. And that is so, so true. So some of the things that we talk about are mentorship programs at different colleges. Sometimes the colleges provide those mentorship programs and coaching. Sometimes you have to look to a third party for that kind of thing. And we're going to get to some of those in a bit. So let's first, before we skip over to that, let's talk about accommodations. When your child has accommodations throughout their public school life or elementary and high school life, those things do not automatically transfer over to college. And there are some things you want to know about that. First of all, SAT and ACT, the AP exams, even college courses and graduate level exams, you can have accommodations for those big tests or courses. You do have to check with the companies that host those courses. Like, I know Praxis exams for teachers, or the College Board for like AP exams. SAT and ACT, I forget who they're run by, but just check with those companies and determine what their requirements are so that you can be prepared in advance. Let them know what accommodations your child needs and why. Now, they might request some testing results so that they can see, okay, yes, your child really needs additional help with this, because yes, we can see their testing shows um, whatever it is. Maybe they need accommodations due to lack of eyesight or hearing issues. You can provide hearing tests that show, yes, my child needs this. Please provide it for them. And there won't be too many questions about that. Now, when it comes to a child in school, once they turn 18, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you to get the school to talk to you unless you have certain things in place, like the FERPA form, which is the form that schools will need to be able to share the information about the student with the parents. Because, once your child is an adult in the eyes of the law, you don't have rights to all of the information like you do when your child is a minor. You might also want to consider a healthcare power of attorney, or a general power of attorney for any family members, any children who go off to college. My child went to a music school in Chicago, and we got power of attorney over him and healthcare power of attorney. Even though he does not have any diagnosis, we thought, what if something happens? He's going to be in Chicago. What if he gets hit by an L train? What if he steps out in front of a bus? Uh, and he goes to the hospital, I need to have these things prepared in advance. So it's good to think about those things. Now, in the workplace, there are also accommodations. You can ask a workplace for an accommodation as long as it doesn't pose an undue hardship to that business. So think about, what you can ask for and what you can't. Could you ask a business to install a ramp on the front of their building? Yes, that seems reasonable, or handrails, or, accommodations for your person. Um, could you ask an office that is located on the third floor of a building that does not have an elevator to install an elevator? I'm not sure about that, or to move their place of business completely out of that building to someplace more accessible. I don't know about that. You can check the Department of Labor website. You can also check the Job Accommodation Network for more things related to accessibility issues and what exactly you can ask for. Now, later on, when you receive these slides in your email today, these links will be clickable. And I did spend a lot of time making sure that these links work and that they go to the right place. But if they got messed up somewhere along the way, please let me know. Just shoot me a quick email, and let me know this link doesn't work. I'll be happy to fix it for next time. So these kind of are falling off the page here, but there are a lot of great programs all around Texas and, again, all around the United States. Programs like the VAST Academy at HCC, Life Path at Lone Star College, Aggie Achieve, or the PATHS program at Texas A&M. Now, we don't work for any of these schools. We don't have any, referral business or anything. We don't make anything off of telling you about these programs. They don't work for us. We don't work for them. We don't know all of that much about each of these programs, but they're things that you might want to check out for your loved one. One program that we have heard about is through Bloom Consulting. They have a few different programs that can help with jobs, looking for jobs. They can help with campus connections, which is helping your child have a coach that will provide mentoring and guidance and some navigational support as it comes to being on a college campus. And there are a lot of different programs like this here in the United States. We can help you find some. I met with a woman at a program that serves kind of the northern states, where they have what they call super campuses or super dorms, where they help host students with disabilities and pair them with mentors. We can certainly turn you on to programs like those at Consolidated Planning Group. A couple of things, getting started with special needs planning. It's important to understand the difference between a planner and an attorney. So we will help you with the financial side and the money side, whereas an attorney will help you with the paperwork and the legal side of things. You definitely want to add financial planning and an attorney to your stable of experts, if you will. That group of support that is there for you. You need experts who really understand the nuances of special needs planning. Of course, you want to gather up your documents, think about what planning you've already done and what questions you have before you step into a meeting. Don't come completely unprepared. We could be way more beneficial if you have a few questions for us, if you've given a little bit of forethought to what you want to ask. A letter of intent is a great first step to planning for the future. The letter of intent is going to help if somebody has to step into your shoes as the parent, and you want them to be able to understand what they're going into and how to help care for your family if you're gone. It's not a legal document. Generally, I would say start with the facts and then work into the more interesting things about your child. Start with names, diagnoses, contact info for all the doctors. Where was your child born? Where are your legal documents? Who is supposed to step up and act as trustee or successor guardian? And then go into things like, my child really, really hates scratchy clothes and will never eat spaghetti. And don't you dare try to feed them fish. But if they're having a rough day, their favorite thing would be a strawberry popsicle, and that would help. Those kinds of things go into your letter of intent as well. Tell us the good, the bad, and the ugly, and all the facts, what people would need to know. And then print that letter of intent and put it in your, if you have like a grab and go binder or an emergency binder, don't leave it locked behind all the passwords on your computer, or else nobody will be able to find it. Think about your vision for the future. Not just yours. What do you want your life to look like, but what do you want your children's lives to look like? And definitely, most importantly, bring your child into this conversation. I was having a chat with a parent last week, and they said to me that they want to make the very, very best decisions that they possibly can with their child, not for their child. And that distinction is everything. You want to make great decisions with your children. Help them learn how to make decisions. Let them perhaps experience some small, safe setbacks or mistakes under your guidance so that you're going to be able to help them out of it. But sometimes it's important to let them experience those as well. Don't shield them from everything, or else they're going to think life is always going to be sunshine and roses. And we know the difference. I want to let you know that Ross says, my son went to Vast Academy at HCC, good basic office skill training in Word and filing, and a good social aspect too. But they strongly encourage just dropping them off to encourage independence. But the world is there and all of its aspects. They don't provide any extra oversight with that particular program, uh, other than having other students help. So maybe that isn't right for your child. Maybe it would be good for your child. It's all up to you and your family and what your kiddo needs. So start thinking now, develop a future care plan, and answer these questions for yourself so that you can sleep better at night. You might have heard that your child needs a special needs trust. That's because any money that your child has in a special needs trust will not count against them when it comes to SSI benefits, Medicaid, waiver programs, things like that, that are so important for your child's financial safety. Um, but we can help you think about how much money really needs to go into that special needs trust to care for my child for the rest of their life, not just your life. Once your life ends, hopefully your child is still going to be here, and somebody is going to help. Somebody is going to need to provide funding for that time period. So think about that. How much money do you think really needs to go into that special needs trust? We can help you with that number. And I'll tell you, it could be more than you think. It could be less than you think. How do you maximize your Social Security benefits? So when you as a parent are in your late 60s and you turn on your Social Security benefits, your child is going to be able to draw from your record, even if they don't work. So we want to really maximize that benefit to make sure that you and your child and your whole family get the maximum benefit from Social Security that you can. Your child gets that benefit for the rest of their life. So you want to make sure it's as much as possible. Also, what happens physically to your child? Where are they going to live? What is it going to look like when you're gone and you're not there to care for them anymore? That is a big, big transition period in your child's life that you need to be thinking about. There's several, there's that time period when they move from high school to whatever comes next. There's a transition period when they turn 18 because of all the legal issues that come up when they become an adult in the eyes of the law. There's a transition period when they move out of your house into wherever they're going to be living next. And then a transition period when you, as their parent, passes away and they have to deal with that heartbreak. So you want to spread those out as much as possible. You do not want your child to have to go through moving out of their childhood home and going to live on their own or in a group home or in a residential community for the very first time. You don't want that to happen at the same exact time that you're passing away. That's a lot to deal with. So maybe get them settled in their new residence while you are still young enough to help them and cheer them on. And then later in life, when you finally do pass away, they're going to already be settled and have their supports in place. Think about those things and let us know how we can help. Now, you think about that special needs trust and how much needs to be in there. And this question comes up all the time. How on earth am I going to pay for all that? Well, it's very important, first of all, that you preserve their eligibility for those state and federal programs. That does provide a lot of funding for your child. Some of the state waiver programs can provide 25 to 50% of the money your child is going to need to carry out the rest of their lives. So make sure that you don't do anything to jeopardize those programs, right? You want to make sure that they have that special needs trust set up and that any money that anybody wants to leave to your child is directed to go into the special needs trust. If they do not have a special needs trust, they could lose those benefits. Your life insurance, your assets can flow right into that trust. Now, they can also have an ABLE account. That's a 529A. You might be familiar with the 529C, which is the college savings account, the 529 college account. A 529A is called the ABLE account. It's a little bit different, but it does function mostly the same. You can put in actually $19,000 this year. I see that we need to update this slide. I'll take care of that. And the disability has to have begun before your child turned 26 years old. They're going to change that rule, I think, for next year, for 2026. For 2025, it is still age 26. So one of the things that we help our clients do is open an ABLE account. You can choose any state-sponsored ABLE account that you want. You don't always even have to be a resident of that state to use their ABLE account, and they're not all created equal. If you Google state ABLE account comparison or something like that, there is a great website that will give you side-by-side details on different state ABLE accounts. The one that we use for our clients when they want us to set one up for them is through the state of Virginia. It is the ABLE America account. We love it because it's through American Funds. That is a company that's been around forever. They have great customer service. They have reasonable fees and reasonable returns on that investment. The cool thing about the ABLE account, not only do they not count that against your child in terms of assets, but that income the income that is generated from owning mutual funds in that account is not taxed. So that's pretty cool. So a little bit more about the ABLE account, that your child would be the beneficiary and the account owner. That income that is earned in the account is not taxable. Unfortunately, you cannot deduct contributions from your federal income taxes. So you put the money in, you don't get a deduction. Some states might let you deduct that from your taxes. But of course, here in Texas, we don't have state income tax, so that doesn't help you very much there. But it does not count against their SSI or Medicaid or anything like that. There are limits to how much you can contribute each year, and there are rules about the distribution of that money. Again, it's $19,000 you can put in for 2025. You never, ever want your ABLE account to go above $100,000. Now, for the special needs trust and guardianship, there's no limit to how much money you can put in the special needs trust. You do have to have an attorney set that up for you, but it will help you preserve those benefits for your loved ones. Guardianship is a process whereby your child basically would be considered a minor in the eyes of the law, and you would be considered their parent and guardian as long as you keep the guardianship in place. Some states refer to this as conservatorship. Here in Texas, it's called guardianship. You can get that process started when you're within about 6 months of your child's 18th birthday. It is quite a process. It's a little cumbersome. You do actually have to go to court. You have to have an attorney for yourself and an attorney for your child. And you're taking away your child's rights as an adult under the eyes of the law. So your child would not be able to vote, drive, um, decide where they want to live, decide if they want to get married, sign contracts. So this goes back to Ross's point about safety and making sure that your child is not going to be taken advantage of if that's a concern for you. The state does not really want people to take away their children's rights and to have guardianship. So sometimes it's better to go for an alternative to full guardianship. Maybe you can cut out some of those rights and keep those for your child. Allow them maybe to vote, but not to drive or sign contracts. Things like that you can do. You can also do lesser alternatives like the power of attorney or a supported decision-making agreement or something in that sense. And yes, you're right. You do renew guardianship annually. You don't just lock it in and keep it forever. Once your family has guardianship, the courts understand that your child is still growing and evolving, and your family is growing and evolving, and maybe guardianship isn't right for you. So you do have to decide each year if you're going to continue with that. But really, a qualified attorney is needed to help you with guardianship, your special needs trust, your will, things of that nature. So make sure you have a good one on your side. And we at Consolidated Planning Group could provide you with a list of attorneys in your area who focus on special needs planning issues. So maybe immediately out of high school, your child isn't going to go straight to college or straight to any kind of program like the VAST Academy or anything like that. Maybe rather than heading straight off to another educational experience, they want to stop at a transition program that might help them launch into adulthood or a residential program. These are some programs that we know of. And again, this is just a small sampling of what is available out there. This page actually does have links for each of the programs. Marbridge, we do a lot of work with them. Reach Unlimited, the hub here in Houston. There are a lot of great programs that will help your child figure out what comes next after high school. And they can be day programs or residential programs. So, we do these webinars quite often. Several times a week, we do webinars talking about what you need to know for your loved one in the special needs community. So go ahead and go to this link to see all of our upcoming webinars. There's a lot coming up. You can pre-register, and that will give you first of all, reminders in your email that the webinar is coming up. Also, if you miss it, you're still going to get the slides and the link to the YouTube channel where the webinars live. So feel free to sign up for as many upcoming webinars as you would like. And even if you miss out on the live presentation, you'll have ongoing access to the webinars. Some other things to keep on your radar. Think about those waiver programs. Are you on the waiver waiting list for as many programs as you can be on? Go to yourtexasbenefits.com to see and to check out how many program waiting lists you're on and where you are on that list. We help people understand the difference between SSI and SSDI, how to designate beneficiaries so that you don't mess up and cause your child to lose out on their benefits, how special needs trusts work and how to use them versus your ABLE account. They can pay for certain things. Your ABLE account can pay for certain things. They have different limits on what can go into those accounts and how they work. Start early on touring residential communities. Some of them can have long waiting lists. And we did actually just last week have a webinar related to summer camps. You can go to our YouTube channel and check out some of the summer camps that are available all across the United States for your kiddos. I actually learned of a program that has 9 different summer camps all around the United States that are free to your student. You just need to get them there, and then they can attend summer camp for a week completely free. And that's through a program called Serious Fun. You can Google that, or you can send me an email, and I will get you the information on that. I'm putting the link for our YouTube channel into the chat box again, and I'm going to go ahead and put my contact info in the chat box again as well so that you can reach out to me directly if you want more information or you have questions about anything we've talked about. This is our entire team here at CPG. We are, again, located in Sugar Land, Texas, just outside of Houston, but we work all across the United States. We are a small, independent firm. We are non-captive, which means that we have more flexibility to be able to work with several large companies to serve our clients and be more flexible for your needs. We work as a collaborative team. We are members of the Academy of Special Needs Planners. We are nationally certified Social Security advisors, and I am a chartered special needs consultant through the American College of Financial Services. We truly take this very seriously. Almost all of our clients have children with disabilities. It's not just once in a while. This is truly what we do. Here's all of Eric's contact info again. So when you receive the slides, you can reach out to Eric. And you can also schedule a free consultation with us at Consolidated Planning Group. You could use the QR code. You could call or email the office, or you can call or email me directly, and I'll set that up for you. Our consultations are over Zoom. They usually take 30 to 45 minutes, and it's completely free and confidential. You get to ask us any questions that you have. You get to talk with one of the financial advisors on the team. And we give you free reign. Pick our brains. Ask us what you want to know. We want to then learn a little bit about you and your family, and then we'll talk about how we work as a company, what our fee structure looks like, what the planning options are, and if it would be a good idea for you to work with us going forward. I promise we don't bite, but we will be reaching out to each and every one of you to see if you want to schedule this free consultation. Also, you can follow us. Our YouTube channel link is down there. Our Instagram, we have a podcast now in case you prefer to listen instead of watching. And we have our Facebook page where all of this information gets put out to our audience. So please follow us, email or call if there's anything that we can do to help you. And I don't see any further questions in the chat box. So on behalf of Eric and I just want to thank everybody. Thank you again to Eric for being here to talk to us a little bit about supporting our loved ones through education on their health and their fitness. And like I said, if you have any further questions, I look forward to helping you with that. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I hope I get to talk to you soon. Axel, I know I'll be talking to you soon. Bye, everybody. Make it a great day. Bye-bye.